Hey channel, welcome back. I am out today enjoying this beautiful fall weather again. It is just gorgeous. Today is like 70 degrees here in Minnesota and it is just gorgeous. I was out walking around in another forest or wooded area and I am seeing these huge mushrooms. Like the heads on them are like enormous. This is crazy. Yeah, it's like right behind me here. That even might be another one. These mushrooms are just huge. It's like this is the year that I've never seen so many mushrooms and so big. It's insane. I will attach some pictures at the end of this video on the ones that I took pictures of. It's insane. Anyway, so I wanted to come out here today to chat about that is so funny, the things that are happening around the world today and how ironic it is that it's happening. For one thing, well, what started this is I saw a video of the Iron Dome in Israel that is some sort of protection system over that city. And when missiles or rockets shoot into that area, there's some sort of force field around a perimeter that basically disintegrates all the rockets and whatever that come into that airspace. And it is insane watching that. I personally had never heard of that until now with all the recent events that are going on in Israel, but I had to look it up and it is crazy. Some guy invented this and I don't even know when, back whenever, but it's so ironic that these things are happening now and you see the protection over that city or area, because there was another video that prompted me to go out and purchase a Bible. And I have not had a Bible or picked one up in, oh my gosh, like it has to be 20 years. I mean, and that's so awful to say, but you know, I am very familiar with the Bible. I know how it reads. To me, it was very challenging to read, but I was in Sunday school and, you know, Awana, you know, religious clubs when I was growing up, things like that. So I definitely know scripture, if you will. But I decided to purchase another Bible that was more to the speed of what I wanted. And this is the New Revised Standard Version, the C.S. Lewis Bible. And C.S. Lewis is a very famous author, and he put the Bible into his own words, basically. And this has been reviewed by religious scholars, you know, people in the religious sects, you know, priests, whatever. It's all been reviewed to make sure that his depiction was accurate. And as I started picking this up and reading it, I mean, and I also did, you know, verify it as well, you know, like John 3:16 and Romans 3:23, and you know, I know what those verses say, and so I looked it up myself to make sure that it, you know, basically said what it said, and it did. So I decided to start reading it, and I started with Exodus because I have always loved that book of the Bible, mainly for the fact of the famous movie called 10 Commandments, which starred Charlton, Heston back in the day. I don't know if it was like made in the 50s or 70s or whatever, but it's usually on every year. I don't know if it's been on recently, but yeah, it seems like it's usually on maybe around Easter or something, or when I don't even know when it's put on. But anyway, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, the cinematography is awesome, how they depicted that book of the Bible and what happened with freeing the slaves from Israel. It was crazy. The plagues that took place, it was just awesome. One of those things that it's like, how are they ever going to be able to make this believable, right? And it's just one of my favorites. So anyway, I started with that book, and also for the fact that it seems that something is happening around the world. Like, there's been a term called the Great Awakening, right? Well, that very well could be people are just waking up to all of the corruption going on in the world, all of the essentially lies we've been told. Yeah. Or it could also mean that people are starting to have a great awakening of their spirituality, or coming closer to God, or realizing that there's more to life than this stuff, right, that we have going on. So that's what made me start with the book of Exodus. And some people have claimed that this is the basically freeing of the people, if you will. Freeing the people of bondage, freeing people of the matrix, if you will. And I don't know if we've been lied to per se, or we certainly haven't been told everything, okay? Like maybe what our true capabilities are, maybe what we're able to actually manifest for our lives. And I'll tell you right now that if I find out some stuff that was held back from us for all these years, OMG, like, yeah. I don't even know what I will even think about it, right? But, I am also one that believes in proof, right? That proof has to be provided before I'm going to really believe things and, understand that that is the truth. But so I started with Exodus, and from the start, it takes you through where, Moses goes to the Israelites and Pharaoh and says, free my slaves so they can be free to worship me. And Pharaoh says, no, no, no. All these times, all these plagues come around the city. The Israelites and God's people are protected through all of this. And up to where everyone maybe should know about the shadow of death that comes over the city and takes the firstborn, and, all of those things. And it gets pretty, dark. It's a pretty dark time, especially with all these plagues, from flies to gnats to, turning the Nile River red. I mean, it's pretty dark, okay? Well, all of this is to get the people from the Israelites and from Israel out to the wilderness and to the promised land, where they will have access to God's promised land, the land of milk and honey, all of this stuff. And I've heard messages about that as well, being that, very soon we are going to be delivered. We are going to be brought to God's promised land. And it makes me feel that it's going to be like a heaven on earth kind of situation, which, wow, what does that mean? That's what makes me think that, have we been lied to about all of this? Have we been lied to about, like I said, what we're able to manifest and how we can actually make our lives better and get out of bondage? Even just for the fact of working a 9-to-5 job. If you read Exodus, those slaves were there and they were doing their thing. And when Moses went to Pharaoh and said, free my people, he's like, no. And, he got really pissed. And he's like, well, good. Now they're going to have all of their straw taken from them. We would provide that usually, but now they're going to have to go and find their own straw to make the bricks or, whatever they were making. And so that was very challenging for them that, and because they had to find their own straw, obviously it takes time away from, the work they're supposed to be doing, but then their quotas still had to be met. And if they weren't met, then they would be whipped and disciplined. And then it even went down to the slave masters or the heads of them, not so much, obviously Pharaoh, but the next one's down, almost like a supervisor, right, if you will. Very weird that it is depicting almost like a work environment. Like, you have to do all this work, and oh, by the way, we're going to now give you more work because either, we didn't like what you did, or you said something, or we just don't have enough staff. And so now you're going to have to do that job plus do your other job and still make the same amount of money. Like, it's very, and you're the worker bee. So then now, if you aren't performing, then it's going to go up to the supervisor and be like, okay, what's going on with, Jane Doe? Why isn't she doing her thing? Or, well, here's the deal. Your production was down. So now you're not going to get a raise, and neither are they. And, so it's like, wow, like, is this really like what is supposed to be happening in our life? Like, are we all supposed to be in this work till you die or work till you retire mentality? Is there something that's meant to be more than this? And has this been kept from us, from the powers that be, from the whatever, the evil empires? I don't know. From what I have heard, that, we will see what happens with all this, that deliverance is coming, and for God's children and the people that believe, you are going to be in the land of milk and honey and in the promised land. So, like I said, I don't know if things are coming full circle in the Bible, like if this was planned, like, are we reliving some of these stories right now? It's kind of crazy to think about. But this is a great Bible from what I've started so far. And, one thing I did read about these slaves is that all these people in the Bible like live very long. Like they, Moses, when he went out to talk to Pharaoh and up to the mountain, for the 10 Commandments, he was like 80 something years old. It's like, oh my gosh. This guy is trudging up the mountain at 80 something years old. It's like, dang, way to go, man. But, a lot of these people lived, I think they traveled in like the, well, first of all, all the Israelites, they ate the manna that came from God, from the sky and whatever, for like 40 years. It's like, oh my God, can you imagine eating that for 40 years? So, what do those years mean, really? Like, I've always kind of wondered that. Like, is that like just to, your lifetime in general? Or what is that supposed to like mean? I've always kind of wondered that. But what I was getting to is that if those people had to eat manna in the wilderness for 40 years, my God, it's going to probably take me 40 years to read this. But, like I said, I have never, of course, like I said, I know the scripture, I don't know everything by any means, but, the Bible is very sacred, obviously, to me, and I appreciate everything about it. But for me to be able to take it in and get something out of it, I had to find a different alternative than, just the standard Bible. And it does, depict everything that the Bible has said. So I just wanted to come out here and just kind of say that it's really crazy, just from me reading the book of Exodus and hearing about the stuff going on in Israel and the Iron Dome, that it's very strange that things are starting to happen around this world. And does this mean that the Bible is like almost coming to pass, if you will? It's kind of crazy. Maybe something to think about. A couple years ago, everyone thought that we were living in Revelations, right? And it was a pretty rough go there, for a while. And it probably could be at any point. But now, maybe we're going into Exodus and we're kind of coming out of this whole Matrix thing. Who knows? They've all said that the people that are here right now are the people that are able to get through this and are able to be strong in the midst of all this. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see, man, but just something to think about. So, take care, and hope this information was helpful for you, and like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, bye-bye.